The door creaked open like an invitation I never asked for. My heart slammed against my ribs as I stepped inside, stepping into a world that wasn't mine. There she was, Lydia, my roommate, curled on her bed, her back to me, her shoulders shaking with sobs that echoed louder than the city traffic below. I froze on the threshold, my sneakers rooted to the hardwood floor of our shared Brooklyn apartment. The air smelled of lavender and salt tears, something intimate and raw that hit me harder than the autumn chill seeping through the cracked window. Lucy, that's me, I reminded myself silently. A 28-year-old graphic designer had moved in just 2 weeks ago, chasing freelance gigs in the shadow of the Williamsburg Bridge. I'd always been the observer, sketching faces in coffee shops, never the one to dive into someone's storm. But there I was, door ajar because she'd left it that way after our awkward morning coffee where she mentioned a bad date, and I nodded too quickly, pretending my own loneliness wasn't a mirror. Lydia didn't turn at first, her auburn waves spilling over the pillow like spilled wine. She was 30, a high school English teacher from the Midwest, transplanted to New York like so many of us, dreaming of reinvention. We'd exchanged pleasantries over takeout, tie careful not to brush elbows at the kitchen table. She had this laugh, light and unexpected like wind chimes in a hurricane, and eyes green as the Hudson on a clear day. But now those eyes were hidden, her body folded small against the weight of whatever had cracked her open. I should have backed out. Closed the door soft as a whisper and retreated to my room with its half-finished mood boards and cooling chamomile tea. But my feet betrayed me, carrying me closer until I was at the edge of her bed, the mattress dipping slightly under my shadow. Lydia, she whispered without looking, her voice thick like honey over gravel. Just leave me be, Lucy. I get it. Another night, another ghost. Her words landed like punches, soft but bruising. I knelt, then slow as if approaching a wounded bird, my hand hovering over her shoulder, afraid to touch, afraid not to. What happened? I murmured, my voice smaller than I intended. You don't have to say, but if you want. The pause stretched thin between us, broken only by her ragged breath and the distant honk of a cab 5 stories down. She shifted, then rolling onto her back, her face flushed and streaked, mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. Those green eyes met mine, finally raw and unguarded, searching for something I wasn't sure I had. It was him, she said simply, the word him, hanging heavy like smoke. My ex. Called tonight, said he's moving on with someone new, like I was just a chapter he skimmed. And I. God, Lucy, I let him in again last week, just coffee, he said, but it was everything. The same old pull, the same old ache. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat, because I'd been there too, not with an ex but with the quiet voids that follow bad decisions. My last relationship, a college fling with a painter, had ghosted me mid-canvas, leaving me to fill in the blanks alone. Sit, I said, gesturing to the bed, though I was already half on it, my knee brushing her thigh, accidental electric. Tell me or don't. I'm here though. Not going anywhere. She sat up, slow, wiping her face with the hem of her tank top, the motion pulling the fabric tight against her curves, a glimpse of skin that made my pulse stutter. Why, she asked, tilting her head, her voice a mix of wonder and wariness. You barely know me, Lucy. We share rent and bad Wi-Fi. That's it. Because, I murmured, leaning closer, the space between us shrinking like a held breath. Because seeing you like this, it hurts. And maybe that's stupid, but it's true. Her lips parted, a soft exhale escaping, and in that moment the room felt smaller, the walls pressing in with the weight of unsaid things. She reached out, then her fingers grazing my wrist, tentative as a question. Stay, she whispered. Just for a minute. That minute stretched into an hour, her words tumbling out like confetti from a burst piñata, stories of small-town Iowa proms and poetry slams of moving to New York at 25 with a suitcase and a syllabus of dreams. I listened, sketching her pain in my mind, not with lines but with colors, bruised blues and hesitant golds. My own stories slipped in, edges of growing up in Seattle, rain-soaked sketchbooks and parents who loved hard but loved men only. We laughed at the absurdities, her ex's poetry that rhymed love with shove, mine the client who wanted a logo that screamed corporate soul. The laughter faded into sighs, her head leaning on my shoulder, heavy with trust. When she lifted her face, our eyes locked again, closer now, the air thick with lavender and something sharper, desire maybe, or just the relief of being seen. Thank you, she said, her thumb tracing circles on my arm, sending sparks up my spine. For walking in. For not running. I want to, I replied, my voice barely above the hum of the radiator, but the words felt like a vow. More than you know. She smiled, then small but real, the kind that crinkles the corners of eyes and softens edges. The door was open for a reason, she murmured. Maybe fate or carelessness. Either way, you're here now. Her hand slid up to my cheek, cool against my flush, and I leaned into it, eyes fluttering shut for a beat too long. When I opened them, she was closer, lips parted, an invitation wrapped in vulnerability. I kissed her, then soft, exploratory, like testing the waters of a new sea. She tasted of salt and mint, her sigh melting into mine, a sound that unraveled me thread by thread. Her fingers tangled in my hair, pulling me deeper, the bed creaking under our shift as boundaries blurred. It wasn't planned, it was inevitable, a collision of two storms finding calm in the eye. We pulled back breathless, her forehead against mine, laughter bubbling up again, light and disbelieving. "What are we doing, Lucy?" she whispered, her breath warm on my neck. "I don't know," I admitted, tracing her jaw with my fingertip. "But it feels right. Terrifying but right." She nodded, nuzzling closer, her body fitting against mine like a missing piece. "Stay the night," she said, not a question this time. "All of it." The city lights flickered on outside, painting her room in gold and shadow as we tangled, slow and sure, exploring maps we'd never charted. Her skin soft under my palm, stories whispered in gasps of dreams deferred and hopes rekindled. It was more than touch, it was confession, a shedding of skins worn too long. When dawn crept in, pale and promising, we lay, spent, her head on my chest, my fingers in her hair, the world outside forgotten. But mornings bring clarity, and with it the weight of what we'd crossed. She stirred first, sitting up the sheet, pulling at her waist, her eyes searching mine over coffee mugs and the kitchen, steam rising like questions. "Last night," she started, hesitant, stirring sugar absently. "It was incredible. But are we okay, Lucy?" "Us?" I reached across the table, my hand covering hers, steady despite the flutter in my chest. "More than okay," I said, meaning it. "This could be something. If we let it." She squeezed back, her smile tentative but growing roots. "Yes," she agreed. "Let's try. No rushing, just us." The days that followed were a dance, tentative steps in our shared space. Mornings she'd leave notes on the fridge, quotes from Whitman or Austen scribbled in her looping script, I'd find them mid-sketch, smiling into my screen. Evenings would cook pasta sauce simmering with garlic and wine, our hips bumping in the narrow kitchen, laughter spilling over the stove. But under it all hummed the undercurrent of fear, mine of losing myself in her, hers of another heartbreak. One crisp October afternoon, after a particularly grueling client call that left me doubting every line I'd drawn, I came home to find her grading papers at the dining table, red pen in hand, stacks of essays on the Great Gatsby looming like accusations. She looked up, green eyes tired but lighting at the sight of me. "Rough day?" she asked, setting the pen down. "The worst," I groaned, dropping my bag, collapsing into the chair beside her. "They want revisions on the whole campaign. Said my colors were too moody." "Like that's a bad thing." She chuckled low, reaching for my hand, pulling me up. "Come on," she said. "Walk with me. Fresh air. Brooklyn's got plenty." We bundled into coats, scarves wound tight against the wind that whipped down Bedford Avenue, leaves skittering like secrets. The streets buzzed with life, dog walkers in yoga pants, hipsters nursing oat lattes, the hum of life that made New York feel alive even when you didn't. We wandered aimless past graffiti-splashed walls and indie bookstores, her arm looped through mine, casual but charged. "Tell me something true," she said as we paused at a crosswalk, her breath fogging the air. "Not the polished version, the real one." I hesitated, the light changing green under our feet. "Okay," I said, stepping forward. "I used to think love was like designing a perfect layout, all straight lines and balance. But it's messier, isn't it? Curves and smudges that make it real." She stopped, then turning to face me, the city fading to a blur. "Yes," she murmured, her gloved hand cupping my cheek. "Messier. But worth the chaos." We kissed there on the corner, pedestrians parting around us like water around stone, soft and unhurried, the world tilting on its axis. Her lips cold at first, warming under mine, a promise sealed in public for the first time. When we broke apart, she grinned sheepish. "People are staring," she whispered. "Let them," I replied, linking our fingers. "They're just jealous." Back home, the evening unfolded lazy, her head in my lap as I sketched loose lines of her profile, the curve of her nose, the way her lashes fanned like feathers. She read aloud from a dog-eared copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God, Zora's words weaving through the room, rich and resonant. "You make me want to write again," she said, closing the book, her fingers tracing my knee. "Not just grade it. Create it. Then do it," I encouraged, shifting to face her. "Start small. A poem about this. Us." She laughed, but there was a spark in her eyes, the kind that ignites. Later that night, after we'd made love slow and reverent under the glow of string lights, she pulled out her notebook, scribbling by lamplight while I dozed beside her. I woke to her reading it, soft, her voice a caress, words of doors left open and nights that rewrite stars. But joy like ours is fragile, edged with shadows. A week later her ex called again, not for reconciliation but cruelty, a voicemail left while she was at school, his voice slurred with whiskey, accusing her of moving too fast, of being the villain in his rewritten tale. She played it for me that evening, pacing the living room, her face pale as the November moon filtering through the blinds. He's poison Lucy, she said, deleting it with a swipe, her hand trembling. Always has been. But hearing him, it digs up everything. The doubts, the what-ifs. I pulled her down onto the couch, wrapping around her like armor, my chin on her shoulder. He's the past, I murmured, kissing her temple. We're the now. And the tomorrow if you want it. She turned in my arms, burying her face in my neck, a sob escaping muffled. I want it, she whispered, fierce. God, I want it so much it scares me. We held each other, then the room quiet save for our breaths sinking slow, the city's pulse a distant drum. That night we talked until the words ran dry, not just fears but future sketches of road trips down the coast and quiet mornings in a bigger place. Her hand in mine, a tether against the dark. The following weekend we escaped the apartment, drove out to the Hudson Valley, leaves ablaze in reds and golds, the road winding like a vein through the hills. Shed booked a cabin on a whim, air quotes from a site promising solitude and stargazing. We arrived at dusk, the sky bruising purple as we unloaded groceries, wine and cheese, and a playlist of folk tunes that filled the car like smoke. Inside the cabin smelled of pine and old wood, a stone fireplace waiting for our match. We built a fire together, her teaching me the art of kindling, my fingers black with soot, laughing as sparks flew up the chimney. Dinner was simple pasta again, but better here, with candlelight flickering on her face, stories flowing easy of childhood hikes in the Ozarks and my rainy forest treks in the Cascades. After we stepped out onto the porch, wrapped in a shared blanket, the night air, crisp stars pricking the velvet sky. Look, she said, pointing, a constellation faint but fierce. Orion the hunter. Chasing forever. I leaned into her, the blanket cocooning us. Maybe he's chasing the wrong thing, I murmured. Sometimes what you're looking for is right beside you. She turned her face to mine, moonlight silvering her features. You're my Orion, Lucy, she said, soft. But the kind who stops running. Our kiss then was deeper, hungrier, the stars witnesses as we stumbled back inside the fire, dying to embers. We made love on the rug, bodies mapping new territories, whispers of always and never let go. In the quiet after her head on my chest, I felt it, the shift from fragile to rooted, something solid blooming in the spaces between. But roots test storms and ours came swift. Back in Brooklyn mid-December, her school hosted a holiday fair, booths of crafts and carols, the gym echoing with cheer. She invited me, nervous in her scarf and boots, as we navigated crowds of kids hyped on hot chocolate. That's when we saw him, her ex, leaning against a wall nursing a coffee, his eyes narrowing as they landed on us hand in hand. Lydia's grip tightened, her body stiffening beside me. Ignore him, I whispered, but he approached anyway, smile oily as spilled ink. Lydia, he drawled. Didn't expect to see you here. And with company. His gaze flicked to me, dismissive, then back, a challenge in the curl of his lip. She straightened, chin lifting, her voice steady as slate. It's good to see you too, Mark, but we're busy. He chuckled low, stepping closer, too close, the air thickening with his cologne. Busy playing house, she said. Come on, Lucy, we both know how this ends. She falters, finds her way back to real. The words hit like slaps, her face draining color, but before she could respond I stepped forward, my free hand on his arm firm. Excuse me, I said, calm but edged like a blade. But you don't get to rewrite her story. She's not your epilogue. She's the whole damn book. Now if you'll move. He blinked, surprise cracking his facade, then backed off, muttering something about dramatic dykes as he melted into the crowd. Lydia stared at me wide-eyed, then laughed, a release sharp and cleansing. You did that, she said, pulling me into an alcove away from the noise. For me. For us, I corrected, kissing her fierce, the fair's lights blurring around us. Always. She melted into it, her hands framing my face, tears pricking but joyful. I love you, she whispered when we broke, the words slipping out unplanned but true. I froze, heart soaring, then crashing into yes. I love you too, I replied, the world sharpening into focus. That confession carried us through the holidays, strings of lights on our tree, gifts wrapped in butcher paper, her reading frost by the window while snow dusted the sill. But love deepened, shadows and mine crept in quiet, at first a freelance drought, leaving me staring at blank screens, doubt whispering, am not enough. One night after a rejection email pinged harsh, I snapped at her over dishes, her suggestion to apply elsewhere landing like criticism. You don't get it, Lucy, I hissed, scrubbing a plate too hard, suds flying. It's not just a job, it's me. Who I am. She recoiled, hurt flickering in her eyes. I was trying to help, she said, soft, backing away. But if you need space, it'll go great in my room. The door clicked shut behind her, not slammed but final, echoing my regret. I sank to the floor, tears hot, the kitchen cold without her warmth. Minutes stretched to an hour before I knocked soft, entering to find her curled on the bed again, echoes of that first night. I'm sorry, I whispered, sliding beside her. It's the fear talking, not you. She turned, face softening, arms opening. I know, she murmured. We're both scared. But we face it together. We held each other, then mending the fracture with touches and truths, the night folding us close. Spring bloomed, tentative cherry blossoms lining the paths as we planned a trip west, her spring break aligning with my deadline lull. We flew to Seattle, my old haunt, rain pattering the windows of a rented car as we drove to the coast. The ocean stretched, endless gray waves crashing like applause, the air salty and sharp. We hiked the trails, mud sucking at our boots, her hand in mine steady as we crested a cliff, the view stealing breath, Pacific vast and indifferent. Here, she said, spreading a blanket, wind whipping her hair. Where you grew up? Feels like coming home. It does, I agreed, unpacking sandwiches, the seabirds wheeling above. But with you it's new. Better. We ate slow, stories of my awkward teen years, crushes on girls in art class hidden in journals. She shared hers on farm girls with kind eyes and borrowed novels. Laughter mingled with the waves, her head on my shoulder as the sun dipped low, painting the water gold. That night in a beachside motel, the rain drummed steady. We lay tangled sheets, salt stiffened from the day's salt. Tell me your dreams, Lucy, she whispered, fingers tracing my spine. The big ones. I want a studio, she said, slow. Somewhere with light to paint words, not just teach them. And you, I added. A gallery, show your designs on walls, people seeing your soul in lines. She kissed me, then deep and affirming. We'll get there, she promised. Together. The words lingered as sleep took us, the storm outside mirroring the one we'd weathered inside. But no return means no easy path, and summer brought the test, heat waves sticky and unrelenting, mirroring the tension when her ex emailed an apology laced with hooks offering closure over drinks. She showed me torn, her face shadowed by the laptop glow. He says it's final, but I know him, Lucy. It's bait. Don't go, I said, heart clenching, but she shook her head, gentle. I have to, she replied. For me. To end it clean. I nodded, trusting, though fear nod. She returned late that night, cab door slamming, her stepping in, flushed but unbroken. He tried, she said, sinking beside me. The charm, the regrets. But I told him about us. About you. How you're my future. Relief flooded me, pulling her close, our bodies aligning, familiar now. And he said, she continued, voice steady. He said he's happy for me. Or lied. Doesn't matter. It's over. We made love, then fierce, reclaiming the air charged with victory, her gasps, my name a mantra. Autumn circled back, leaves falling like farewells, but ours were hellos deeper now. We moved to a larger place in queen space for her writing nook, my drafting table, side by side windows overlooking the skyline. Nights would walk the boardwalk at Coney Island, hot dogs in hand, the Ferris wheel creaking, memories, laughter echoing over the waves. One evening as fireworks burst for no reason but joy, painting the sky in booms of color, she stopped, pulling a small box from her pocket. Not a ring, she said, nervous fingers trembling. But a promise. Inside, a key etched with our initials and a note in her script, to the nights of no return and all the dawns after. Tears pricked my eyes as I slipped it on a chain around my neck. Yes, I whispered, kissing her under the sparks. To all of it. We stood there, the world exploding around us, small in the best way, anchored in each other, the story ours, unwritten but endless. Years later, looking back, that open door wasn't carelessness, it was grace, a crack letting light in. We built from there, not perfect but human stumbles and sighs woven into strength. Lydia published her chapbook, poems of thresholds and touches, dedicated to the woman who walked through. I landed that gallery, show her face in the front row, beaming, green eyes proud. Love isn't a straight line, it's a sketch, revised and alive, messy with emotion but rich in depth. And in the quiet moments, her hand in mine, I know would do it again. Enter that room, choose the night, choose us. Because some doors left open change everything for the better, leaving echoes of grace in the heart. The move to Queens felt like breathing deeper, the new apartment, a third floor walk up with creaky stairs and views of the East River that glittered like scattered diamonds at dusk. We christened it with pizza boxes and her reading passages from her chapbook drafts, voice husky from the climb. Lucy, this place, she said, flopping onto the worn couch, arms wide. It's ours. No echoes of exes, just us. I joined her, straddling her lap, playful, the box cutter still in my pocket from unpacking. Ours, I agreed, kissing her nose, then lips soft and lingering. But if you leave your door open again. She laughed, pulling me down, the sound vibrating through me. Every door, she murmured. Always open for you. Those early weeks were a rhythm, learning each other's mornings, her up first, coffee brewing strong black for her with cream for me, the steam curling like questions answered. I'd linger in bed, sketching her silhouette against the window light, the curve of her hip under the sheet, a line I'd trace later with fingers. Afternoons, she'd come home, papers tucked under arm, stories of students' triumphs, a shy girl reciting Dickinson for the first time, eyes bright as Lydia's own. Would cook together now her teaching me to chop onions without tears mine showing her the art of stir-fry sauces balanced sweet and spice. Dinner conversations meandered from lesson plans to logo pitches her green eyes intent on my words making me feel seen not just heard. After dishes would curl on the balcony fire escape really chairs squeezed close the city hum below a lullaby. One night mid-September the air still warm with summer's ghost she suggested a drive spontaneous her hand on the wheel of her beat-up Honda radio tuned to indie folk. Let's chase the sunset she said grinning as we merged onto the BQE traffic a snarl but her fingers laced in mine made it bearable. We ended up in the Hamptons uninvited beaches stretching gold the waves lazy under the dying light. We kicked off shoes sand cool between toes walking barefoot her arm around my waist casual possession. This she said gesturing to the horizon. Feels like freedom. No schedules no stacks of essays. Just sea and sky and you. I leaned into her the salt wind tangling my hair. And sketches I added pulling a small pad from my bag quick lines of her profile wind whipped wonder. We found a dune sheltered slightly spreading a blanket from the trunk wine poured into plastic cups stars emerging one by one. She leaned back propped on elbows gazing up. Remember that first night she asked voice soft. How terrified I was. Thought I'd scare you off with my mess. I sipped wine the tartness grounding. Terrified me too I admitted shifting closer. But the good kind. The kind that pulls you in. Her hand found mine thumb stroking the back a habit now comforting as breath. Tell me Lucy she said turning to me moonlight silver on her skin. What scares you now? The real thing. I paused the waves a steady underscore. Losing this I said honest the words heavy. Not you but the balance. Work pulling me under doubts whispering am not enough for your light. She sat up then cupping my face gentle fierce. You are she said voice like oath. My light you're the spark. Without you it's just shadow. We kissed then slow deepening the wine forgotten the night wrapping us tight. Hands roamed familiar yet new mapping freckles and scars stories and skin. When we made love there on the blanket sand gritty under us the stars wheeled above a canopy of yes. Dawn found us tangled waking to gulls' cries and her laughter as we brushed sand from hair. Drive back she said packing the blanket. But first breakfast. We found a shack clams and chowder eaten at a picnic table her stealing my fries playful chase. The road home was quiet content her hand on my thigh the radio low songs of longing met. Back in Queens reality waited emails piling client notes sharp as glass. I dove in head down screens glowing late her bringing tea shoulders rubbed gentle. You okay she asked one midnight keyboard clicking relentless. Yeah I lied fingers flying. Just chasing deadlines. She didn't push but her eyes held worry the kind that simmers. Days blurred her school year ramping parent-teacher nights leaving her drained voice hoarse from conferences. Would pass in the hall kisses quick her scent lingering on my pillow. Tension built subtle at first my snapping over misplaced keys her sigh when I forgot her poetry reading. It crested one rainy Thursday thunder rumbling like regret. She came home soaked umbrella forgotten papers plastered to her chest. Rough day kids fighting over nothing parents blaming me for their chaos. I looked up from my laptop irritation flaring. Join the club I muttered. Clients hating my revisions again. Like my work isn't art it's disposable. Her face fell water dripping from her hair. Lucy I was venting not competing. She turned away hanging her coat the silence thick as the downpour outside. Sorry I mumbled but she was already in the bedroom door clicking soft a barrier. I sat there rain lashing windows guilt churning. Minutes ticked my pride wrestling apology. Finally I knocked entering to find her on the bed knees drawn notebook open but blank. Hey I said sitting beside her hand on her knee. That was shitty. I'm stressed not you. She leaned into me head on shoulder. Me too she whispered. Feels like we're drifting. Like the current pulls harder than we row. We talked then raw edges exposed my fear of failure hers of being the steady one always giving. Tears came hers first then mine mingling on the pillow truth spilling like rain. Forgive me she asked voice small. Always I replied kissing her forehead. And you me? We mended slow dinner ordered and Ty sprawled on the floor feeding each other bites laughter reclaiming space. That night love making tender exploratory rediscovering in the storm cleared air. Fall deepened leaves carpeting streets as we found balance again her joining a writers group meetings in lofts downtown stories shared over cheap wine. Shed come home buzzing excerpts read aloud her words painting our walls vivid. I tagged along one circle of chairs faces intent her voice steady reading of open doors and salt skin the room quiet then applause warm as her blush. My turn came a design conference in Manhattan panels on digital frontiers coffee fueled debates. She surprised me there, slipping into the back row, green eyes proud as I presented my portfolio slides, clicking through colors bold and true. After questions done, she met me in the lobby, flowers pinched from a cart, daisies simple. "You were brilliant," she said, hugging tight. "My artist." We wandered midtown, then lights twinkling, early dusk skyscrapers looming like dreams. Dinner at a hole-in-the-wall, dim sum, carts rolling, steam rising, her chopsticks stealing my dumplings, playful. Over fortune cookies she cracked hers, reading aloud, "A journey begins with a single step." "Ours did," she said, eyes on me. "Door open, heart too." I laughed, but tears pricked, fortune forgotten in my pocket. "Love you," I said, simple, profound. Her smile lit the room brighter than the neon outside. "Love you more," she countered, kissing across the table, oblivious to stares. Winter crept in, snow dusting the city like powdered sugar, our first together in the new place. We decorated a tree, scavenged from the curb ornaments, thrifted her, hanging a star shed made in class, kids' fingerprints pressed in clay. Christmas Eve we walked the village, lights strung like pearls, carols drifting from bars, her gloved hand in mine warm pocketed. At home, fire crackling in the small grate, eggnog spiked, her reading A Christmas Carol, voice theatrical accents cracking us up. Gifts unwrapped, hers a leather-bound sketchbook, pages thick as promise, mine a fountain pen engraved LNL, initials entwined. We made love by firelight, shadows dancing slow rhythms of gratitude. But seasons turn and spring brought change, her school offering tenure, a ladder up but chains too. She paced nights debating, voice edged. "It's security, Lucy, but it means more hours, less writing. Less us." I pulled her down, coffee cold on the table. "Whatever you choose," she said, firm. "I'm with you." She signed the papers, dawn light, her face resolved. Celebration dinner, rooftop bar, skyline sparkling, her in a dress red as risk. To tenure I toasted, glasses clinking. To us she countered, eyes shining. Always the anchor. Summer heat wave baked the streets, AC humming futile as we sought cool basements, movies, matinees, her head on my shoulder, popcorn shared, kernels lost in laps. One sticky night, power outage, city blacked out, candles flickering, her suggesting a picnic in the park, blankets spread under oaks, fireflies winking. We lay there, stars, rare glimpses through light pollution, her fingers in mine tracing constellations made up. "That one," she pointed. "Lucy, Lydia, love eternal." I turned, kissing her palm. "Eternal," I agreed, the night hours electric in simplicity. But eternity, tests and fall brought my crisis gallery show, looming deadline, crushing designs rejected twice, panic rising. I withdrew, sketches crumpled, floor littered, her finding me, midnight hunched over table, eyes burning. "Talk to me," she said, hand on back, circles soothing. "Can't," I snapped, pencil snapping too. "They want perfect, I can't." She knelt, then gathering shards, voice calm. "Perfect's boring, Lucy. Your mess, your heart, that's what sells. Remember the first sketch of me? Smudged and true." Her words pierced sleep, came fitful dawn, her coffee waiting, pep talk gentle. I revised, poured me in lines, jagged, real. The show opened, rainy night, crowd milling, her in front row gripped tight as I unveiled. Gasps, then murmurs approval, her tears proud as applause washed me. After party small, her toasting me, champagne flute raised. "To the woman who sees souls." We danced, then slow rain pattering, tin roof, her body mine home. The success lingered, a hum under skin, boosting bids, new clients, emails pinging promise. But with light comes shadow, Lydia's tenure year ramping, observations, administrators circling like hawks, her evenings lost to lesson tweaks, anxiety etching lines around her eyes. Shed come home late, bags under eyes, dropping keys with a sigh that echoed deeper than fatigue. One November dusk, fog rolling off the river thick as doubt, I waited, dinner cooling, her chair empty. When she slipped in, coat damp, hair frizzed, she paused, door half shut, eyes distant. "Long day," I asked, plating pasta, steam rising futile. She nodded, sinking to table, fork pushing noodles absently. "Principal shadowed my class again. Said my passion overshadows structure. Like hearts and essays are fluff." I sat across, hand reaching. "Sounds like bullshit," I said soft. "Your kids light up because of you." She looked up, then green eyes fractured. "Maybe," she murmured. "Or maybe I'm fooling them." "Fooling us?" The words hung, fork clattering, plate silence stretching thin. "Lucy," she started, voice cracking. "What if this life, the teaching, the writing, it's all borrowed time? What if I wake up 50 and it's just routines?" I squeezed her hand, pulse jumping under my thumb. "Then we rewrite," I said steady. "Together. Doors open, remember." She nodded, but the shadow clung, nights her tossing sleep, fitful whispers of what ifs. I held her closer, mornings, notes left, you are enough scrawled on mirrors fogged from showers. December brought holidays, break a reprieve, her suggesting escape, South Florida sun to thaw the chill. We flew budget wings, Miami heat slapping us at landing, palm trees swaying like welcomes. Rented a convertible top-down driving keys blasting her hair whipping wild. Beach first sand white hot towels spread her in bikini curves kissed by sun lotion slick under my hands. We swam waves turquoise pulling us under laughter bubbling up salt stung. Afternoon siesta hammock strung between palms her head in lap book open poetry reading soft lines of Neruda love as map. This she said closing it fingers on my knee. Us in words. Eternal but changing. I traced her thigh lazy. Changing good I agreed. Like tides. Evening boardwalk lights strung conch fritters grease dripping her stealing bites playful. Ferris will ride slow ascent city sprawling below her kiss at peak world small beneath us. Back to the room balcony overlooking ocean waves crash steady her wine glass tilting. Thank you she said leaning rail. For seeing me through fog. Always I replied arms around waist chin on shoulder. Fog clears. Sun returns. We made love windows open sea breeze cooling skin her gasps mingling with surf slow building to crescendo release like waves breaking. Days blurred sun soaked mornings markets mango sticky afternoons kayaking mangroves her paddling fierce birds calling overhead. One evening storm brewed sky bruising we raced back rain lashing convertible soaked laughing drenched. Motel room thunder rumbling her towel drying hair eyes sparkling. Storm chaser she teased pulling me close. My favorite kind. We tangled then urgent rain drum symphony body slick pressing close. After her head on chest listening heartbeats thunder fading to patter. I love this she whispered. The wild the wet the you. Me too I murmured sleep tugging. All of it. Returned to snow-dusted Queens jarring but renewed her stepping into class post-break energy crackling kids responding essays deeper her sharing one night proud. See she said reading aloud a girl's words on loss and light. They're getting it. Because I am. My work surged 2 collaborations brewing panels invitations her clipping articles fridge display stars earned. But balance teeters and winter solstice party friends crammed apartment mulled wine spilling laughter loud her in corner with wine glass eyes on me across room warm anchor. Midnight toast she pulled me kitchen away from noise. Year turning she said clinking glasses. To more. Deeper. I kissed her then guests be damned slow thorough cheers distant. Deeper yes I agreed breath mingling. Always. Spring equinox brought bloom her chapbook accepted small press run excitement bubbling reading scheduled first in Brooklyn cafe she nervous pacing pre-event dress swirling. I sat front row heart pounding with hers as she stepped mic voice steady at first then soaring words of thresholds us woven subtle. Applause thundered her eyes finding mine tears brimming bow deep. After signing books her hand in mine trembling. Did it land I asked streetlights haloing. Landed she laughed. Flew. Dinner quiet Italian candlelit her recounting moments voice animated fork gesturing. This is it Lucy she said eyes fierce. The start. Summer followed heat mercifully brief her tenure review looming prep consuming nights laptop glow her face gaunt. I brought dinners study breaks massages shoulders nodded. You've got this I said oils warm on skin. They'll see your fire. Review day she left early soup pressed kiss lingering. Hours stretched me sketching distraction waiting. Phone buzzed her text free birds singing. Lunch park benches her arriving loose limbed smile wide. Past she said hugging tight. With honors. Fire noted. Celebration road trip Pacific Coast Highway her driving curves hugging cliffs ocean dropping blue. Stops Big Sur hikes mist forests her hand mine trails damp. Cabin nights fire crackling her reading new poems drafts fresh ink words of ascent. One cliffside overlook wind howling she spread arms. Free she yelled sea roaring back. I joined arms wide her behind holding. Free with you I shouted laughter lost in gust. Love like this she said later blanket wrapped stars above. Boundless. Fall harvest her book launch proper Manhattan bookstore packed faces familiar her in spotlight voice resonant signing line snaking. I watched from shadows heart full her glancing back wink shared. After party bar hopping her high on words strangers toasting. But peaks plummet gentle her post-launch slump quiet days staring blank page doubt creeping. What's wrong I asked bed tangled morning light. Dry she admitted head buried pillow. Words stuck. Like I'm empty. Not empty I said rolling her over eyes locking. Full. Overflowing. Let it spill messy first. She tried nights scribbling tearing crumpling but slow verses emerged jagged true. Read one she said hesitant voice small. To me. I listen lines raw of love as scar tissue strong from tear. Beautiful I said kissing paper then her. Honest. Keep going. She did floodgates cracked poems pouring her sharing circle eyes lit again. Winter solstice circled back party larger friends spilling onto balcony snow falling soft her toast this time. To scars she said glass raised. And the hands that trace them. Glasses clinked her hand finding mine under table fingers link promise. New Year dawned crisp her words flowing steady writers group buzzing feedback fuel. My designs 2 commissioned stacking travel sketches for magazines her joining 1 trip California wine country vines heavy sun-baked. Tastings lazy afternoons her swirling glass tongue clicking notes cherry earth I sketching labels playful vines twisting like lovers. Evenings porch swings vineyard views her head lap questions deep. Where next she asked stars pricking desk. Anywhere I said fingers and hair. But here first. This. She smiled content shifting closer kiss tasting wine slow deepening porch creek rhythm. Return flight's delayed storm tossed her hand mine turbulence grip tight. Landed late cab ride quiet her dozing shoulder my pillow home waiting. Unpack slow her finding gift packed last minute leather journal vines embossed. For your next she said shy. Spill more. Touched I kissed her fierce bags dropped hall forgotten. Thank you I whispered bed calling. For seeing. Always she replied light off bodies align familiar home. Spring conference hers education summit DC cherry blossoms peak panels her speaking voice clear on inclusive lit hearts minds. I tagged sessions notebook filling her post-talk glow lunch mall monuments looming. Proud she said fountainside hand mine. Of us. Walks Lincoln Memorial steps echoing her reading plaque dreams deferred voice reverent. This she said turning. Our dream too. Building not just surviving. Yes I agreed kiss soft tourists blurring. Building. Summer sabbatical her first full month free words unchecked manuscript swelling novel seeds. Mornings she wrote desk by window sun slanting pages turning I breakfast tray toast jam her kiss reward sticky sweet. Afternoons park benches her reading drafts allowed revisions penciled margins my notes gentle. One humid eve heat lightning flashing no thunder her suggesting drive Jersey Shore boardwalk lights Ferris will spin. Cotton candy pink her stealing bites sand sticking feet. Pier end rail leaning waves below her question soft. Marry me Lucy not now but someday. Rings words vows. Heart stuttered yes bursting. Someday soon I said turning kiss salt sweet. Her laugh joy pure arms wrapped tight. Soon then she agreed world spin slower. Fall manuscript done submitted weight nail biting her pacing eye distraction sketches bold. Acceptance came email ping her scream joy jumping couch tackle me laughter tears. Published she gasped reading aloud contract terms blur. We did it. Launch plan spring tour cities mapped her nervous excitement bubbling. Prep nights readings practiced voice honed I mock audience clapping. Winter bridged holidays family calls her Iowa parents warming to us voices curious mind Seattle mom teasing rings when. Christmas tree lit her gift necklace chain key now pendant LNL engraved. Mine bracelet leather her poems etched tiny. Wore them New Year's Eve party rooftop countdown her countdown to kiss at midnight fireworks bloom. Book tour kicked March cities blurring readings crowds faces wrapped her words weaving us subtle dedications. Chicago wind whipped her post reading high dinner deep dish her fork mine shared. Tired but alive she said hotel bed silk sheets. Love this life you in it. West Coast LA's sun-soaked panel diverse voices her shining questions fielded grace. Night hike Griffith Trail city lights below her hand mine stars above. Pinnacle pause her turning. Thank you Lucy anchor and storm. Storm came subtle agent calls numbers low tour extension push her torn. More exposure but home waits. Choose I said balcony view. Whatever heart pulls. Heart pulls you she decided cutting short homebound. Return airport hug tight her relief palpable. Home sweet she sighed key turn door open. Ours always I agreed bags drop kitchen claim. Summer followed lazy her editing proofs red pen busy I commissions light beach days rockaway waves crash her book sand dusted reading aloud passages laugh lines. Evenings grill smoke rising her flipping burgers stories school year wrap kids graduated tears proud. One sunset pier her proposing proper not someday ring simple gold band wave etched inside open door forever. Yes I choke tears salt sea matching Neil kiss waves applaud. Fall wedding small courthouse friends witness her in suit white shirt green tie I dress soft blue sketches pinned. Vows handwritten hers poem mine design words lines entwined. Rings exchanged kiss seal cheers erupt cake shared fingers lick frosting sweet. Life post simple deeper mornings coffee shared her syllabus mine briefs entwined. Travels short weekends Hudson cabin now our stocked books art. Nights tangled her whisper dreams shared building. Years stacked gentle her novel two more tenure chair department head voice mentors. My studio gallery rep shows yearly her front row proud. Kids none but hers adopted heart stories told. One anniversary beach firsts Coney will ride her head shoulder. Full circle she said hand ring glint. No return but forward always. Looking back that door open grace not chance. Messy human love depth emotion root. Echoes linger grace heart quiet strong.